Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Zimbabwe politics is rotten to the core. Anyone who thinks that the country can ever recover from its present state as a failed state without fixing the political system is, to say the least, naive. A few days ago, I played this video clip of Amai Mnangagwa talking about the serious problem of looting in Zimbabwe. I'll just play a clip of it again.
So the mining sector in Zimbabwe is a huge crime scene where a presence of resources has attracted social evils, including land grabbing, water grabbing. Because we are having an El Nino, which has seriously affected food security in the country. One thing we must know is that as we have become the biggest producer of lithium in the country, lithium consumes a lot of water. And where lithium is being mined, they have grabbed the water from the people and worsened even an already adverse situation. Romonzi is an example. Bikita is another example. Puhera, Sabisa, all these places. And then when you look at how these discoveries of resources are benefiting the local people, you come to a very distressful realization that the mineral resources belong to a few individuals holding the levers of the state. So to make sure that nobody can expose the corruption, they have put in place pillars of repression in every area where there are minerals. First, the president's office is there to make sure that there is no civil society activity in that area. If you are to be allowed to operate in that area, you must sign a memorandum of misunderstanding with them to show them that you are not going to ruffle the feathers of those who are benefiting from the extraction of that resource. And therein comes even the PVO bill. It's all meant to restrict Zimbabweans from having an interest in their natural resources in terms of who is benefiting, how are the resources shared among the stakeholders. So they've undermined even our law enforcement agents. I can tell you that at our borders, resources, there are many trucks which are leaving this country without declaring anything. There is a very high-ranking official, whether it's an official or it's not an official, I don't know, but name with hell, who drove to Fox border posts where trucks with lithium had been withheld because they did not have the necessary documentation. And that person went and threatened immigration officials, threatened the Zimbabwe officials to allow those trucks to pass. Those who have been monitoring developments in the lithium sector, we've been following what we've been posting, will know that when we started exporting lithium around 2022, we raised alarm that the lithium is being looted. At that point, the trucks which were carrying the lithium were not closed. They were not using tents. Everything was in the open. But when Zimbabweans began to take pictures and showing that, look at the amount, the volume of lithium leaving the country, and instruction was given that whosoever is carrying lithium must make sure that it's either in a container or it is covered by a tent. So today it sounds like there is no lithium leaving Zimbabwe. I want you also to know that only those moments when the spirit of Neander, decides to overtake those trucks, that's when you begin to see, oh, there was black granite, there is chrome in this truck, and all those things. The other thing I would like also to add is,
I'll just stop it there. The official that Farai was talking about is none other than the First Lady, Dr. Amai Mnangagwa. She is the one who drove to the border post and threatened the customs officials that they must allow the lorries carrying the country's resources to go out, to drive out without any documentation. This has become normal. It's the norm. And this is the individual who in this picture is being depicted as the angel as the beneficiary of the poor. This was posted spreading love and kindness. First Lady Dr. Amai Mnangagwa, patron of the Angel of Hope Foundation, brought joy to the vulnerable in Musami, National and East Province yesterday. Angel of Hope, right. Spreading the love and kindness. This was just a cover. A day job was threatening officials to let the looting continue. We cannot have this carry on. ZANU-PF have mastered the art of giving with the right hand and make a big song and dance about it, while taking even more with the right, with the left. Zimbabwe is a failed state. Millions of our people have been reduced to a life of abject poverty without any hope, because Zimbabwe is a failed state. How many of these people she was now being so generous to? And millions of others around the country have ever had a meaningful say in the government of the country. Zimbabwe has had 44 years of independence, and yet we still to hold free, fair, and credible elections. There is a regime that's making a big song and dance, giving people blankets. President with his goat project, handing a few goats here and there. But they will not allow these people to have to exercise their fundamental right to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. These people would not need handouts if the economy was doing well. The regime is the one that has killed the economy, that has made so many people poor and powerless. And the regime is the one that is benefiting from that oppression. And occasionally comes to the people, hands them a blanket, and the people have got to show their never-ending gratitude. Give them a few gods, and the people have got to show their never-ending gratitude. This level of political cynicism is at the heart of our problem in Zimbabwe, and we must fight it. People do not want blankets. People do not want handouts. The people want a meaningful say in the governance of the country. If Zimbabwe's economy was doing well, with unemployment at present at 90%, it is no wonder that so many people are destitute. If the economy was doing well, these ladies will have their children, their grandchildren, will be gainfully employed and will be able to look after them. They'll be able to live off their pensions too. and not have to rely on handouts. Zimbabwe's political system has failed. And those who are behind the failure are the ones who are systematically denying the people a meaningful say in the governance of the country. That has to be confronted head on. What we want in Zimbabwe, above all else, above charity, is that the people should be given the right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country. 44 years after independence, we really must address this problem of rigged elections. This carry on cannot be allowed to continue anymore. I've said it here and I'll say it again. The opportunity to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship has been there. The best opportunity was in the 2008 to 2013 GNU. Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends failed to implement even one reform because Mugabe bribed them. Corruption has been at the heart of Zimbabwe's failed political system. Mugabe bribed the police so that they forgot their duty of maintaining law and order, bribed judges so that they turned a blind eye to ZANU-PF political excesses, bribed army officials so that they become partners of ZANU-PF in denying people their fundamental right to free, fair, and credible elections, etc., etc. And it is no surprise that he bribed the opposition to forget the primary purpose people had elected them, i.e. implement the democratic reforms to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship. Corruption has been at the heart of our failed political system. And we've got too many people in high places who have been corrupted to the point they are utterly useless now. As much as the army, the police, the judiciary, they're all but ZANU-PF departments in all but name, including the opposition itself. Still, there is a way out of this. In 2028, Zimbabwe will be looking at holding another election. We know that ZANU-PF will not implement any meaningful reforms before that election. We also know that the opposition will participate in those flawed elections for the same reason they failed to implement even one reform during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. What we have got to be aware of is our own, we the people, role in this failed system. We have allowed ourselves to be conned by upstarts like Nelson Chamisa into participating in these flawed elections when we know the process is flawed and that by participating we give ZANU-PF legitimacy. We absolutely had nothing to gain. We have gained absolutely nothing in participating in these flawed elections. The challenge is, can we get some of our ignorant, naive, and incredibly gullible Zimbabweans out there to stop participating in these flawed elections? It is a challenge, but it is a challenge that we can address, hard as it is, because admittedly, some of our Zimbabweans have fallen into this cult mentality. You can't reason with somebody who believes that Chamisa is a demigod, who is infallible, who should never be held to account. They will not admit that MDC, Chamisa and his MDC friends sold down during the GNU. Even now, with the benefit of hindsight, they still will not believe it. And so reasoning with them is going to be tough. How do you reason with somebody who's not being, who doesn't value facts, truth, and reality? It is a pity that our political system started on the wrong foot. And we have allowed this culture of blind loyalty to be the prevailing political ethos. I'll just play a short clip of Tony Blair explaining why Singapore was a success story.
The fascinating thing about Lee Kuan Yew is he took 3 important decisions right at the beginning for Singapore. Each one of them now seems obvious. Each one at the time was deeply contested. Number 1, he said, everyone's going to speak English in Singapore. Now, there were lots of people who said to him at the time, no, we need to have our own local language. We need to be true to our roots and everything. He said, no, English is the language of the world and we're all going to speak English. Secondly, he said, we're going to get the best intellectual capital from wherever it exists in the world and we're going to bring it to Singapore. And again, people said, no, we should stand on our own 2 feet. And you're also bringing in the British, who we just, who we've got all these disputes with. And he said, no, I'm going to bring in the best from wherever they are, and they're going to come to Singapore. And the third thing he did was he said there's going to be no corruption. And one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to make sure our political leaders are well paid, which the Singapore leaders are the best paid in the world. And there's going to be zero tolerance of corruption. Those are the 3 decisions that were instrumental in building Singapore today.
Alas, in Zimbabwe, I think our ruling elite, at least, are some of the best paid in the world, better than some even the Hollywood stars. They live in luxury, unparalleled luxury. Ministers, deputy ministers, they live in luxury. Even our opposition politicians, they too live in luxuries. They can afford to have Porsche cars, expensive luxuries like cars, bags, and we all know about Grace Mugabe's wardrobe and so forth. So the issue of let's get our leaders to be well paid, that will end corruption, did not work in Zimbabwe, because we have put it the other way around. We have allowed corruption to thrive, and that has been the source of their wealth. And they've used some of that looted wealth to bankroll the dictatorship. All these officials are being bribed using some of the wealth Mnangagwa is getting from this export of the country's resources. The country is being robbed blind. Most of that wealth is not benefiting the people. It is benefiting the few ruling elite, and they are using it to bribe everybody else they think is important to keep them in power. Last year's elections, people widely believe that Mnangagwa may have spent as much as $5 billion US from buying chicken and chips for their hundreds or thousands of people who were passed from one rally to another, to buying twin cab trucks for chiefs, giving bribes of US 400,000 and $500,000 to judges, all the country's judges and ministers, respectively. And that has helped him keep him in power. What he could not bribe is the SADC and the AU officials who came to observe last year's elections. And they condemned the process as flawed. Lucky for him, he was able to bribe the opposition to participate no matter what. And they owned their blind followers participate. I believe that if Zimbabweans had not participated in the millions in last year's elections, SADC would have denied ZANU-PF political legitimacy. That is our way out. Do not participate in 2028 elections without reforms. And let's see if SADC will condemn those elections and still allow ZANU-PF to have political legitimacy. Do your bit, and let's see what SADC will do. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.